The Leafs are up first. They start at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And Carey Price is playing for the Leafs tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
Joseph Woll in net for the Leafs tomorrow, a.k.a. Carey Price.
My head almost blew off my body because I've had to talk about this ad nauseum today. Like, I'm not going to point names out, but one guy's like, yeah, well, it's clearly Joseph Woll has been, just a great goaltender. I'm like, what? Did I miss a bunch of games that he's played? Like, he's played 1.5 games this season.
Very early.
Early. And Max Domi just couldn't wait to get in front of the camera to say that. He's been quiet for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden gets a couple nice assists, and then just got to come out with the shooting from the hip.
I was surprised. I was surprised because he knows the mark. Why don't we play it? This was Max. And Domi was feeling it Saturday, as he should, right? Yes. He finally came alive. He made 2 great plays. Matthew and I scored on both of them. Long overdue, albeit only, the 5th game of the season. But they needed depth scoring. They needed Domi to snap out of it. Made really nice plays. He was happy. The team was happy. They deserved to be. But this is what Domi said after the game when he was asked about a guy he probably barely knows, right? He just got here. He wasn't with the team a year ago. This is what Max Domi had to say about Joseph Woll.
He's great, man. He really kind of reminds me of Carey Price's demeanor. He's very calm and relaxed, and both on and off the ice. And big body, moves really technically sound. I mean, I'm not a goalie coach by any means, but he's outstanding.
Yeah. I don't understand. No. He didn't say this guy's the next Carey Price.
No,
he said he's calm and he's got slow body movements and he's calm. He didn't say he's the next Carey Price. Right. So instead of we talk about fans freaking out, let's not turn in that comment into he's the next Carey Price.
But you're right. Normal people would listen to that and say, you're right. He's got a demeanor like Carey. Not normal people how we, in this market, it's fandom. It's like, he's the next Carey. They're not listening. They're not listening to what he just said. Yes, he has demeanor. He's a big guy, carries himself like Carey Price. But again, he's the next Carey Price. He's this. Listen, he seems like he's going to be a good goaltender. I've watched him for 11 games or how much he's ever played. Watched him in the AHL All-Star game last year. He is their goaltender of the future, and he's their goaltender of the now, battling for the net with Samsonov. But, let's pump the brakes 1.5 games in this season.
Let's just sum it up like this. Samsonov was out to lunch on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Okay? Or Saturday night or Sunday? Saturday night.
I didn't. Which goals did you think were bad?
I just thought it was he looked like he was out to lunch. I know it was some power plays. There was some Kucherov magic.
He hasn't been good all year. Let's also clarify that.
So let's just keep it like this and button it up. Woll deserves the next start, and maybe he can get some runway if he plays well in Washington, and leave it at that. Maybe Samsonov and Noodles, you've talked about it ad nauseum over the last 5 years. Sometimes a guy needs to take a little 2-week break, and I have no idea what the hell they do. They might tie themselves to a goalie net and work on different things. I don't know. But maybe he needs to take 2 weeks and figure his game out, and we'll leave it at that. Joseph Woll deserves the next start, and maybe he gets a little bit of runway. Okay?
Yeah,
There's your Ross Atkins answer.
And the team could actually play a little better in front of him defensively, and whoever's in net. They gave up 21 high-quality chances the other night. That's garbage defense. And they have been defensively garbage all year. They've just outscored their issues. So you can easily lay it at the goaltender's feet. Play a little better systematically. And that doesn't just go for the Maple Leafs. It's loose early on. We know how systems takes a little bit. But this team is not buttoned up. It's not like they're Samsonov's allowing bad goal after bad goal. These are preventable plays in front of the goaltender too.
Yeah, I think that's definitely reasonable. I think sometimes it's just a matter of fact, as Keefe said after the game. You can't give up 3 goals on 4 shots in a big game to start. It doesn't even matter the context of how it went in. It's the coach is going to look up and say, not your night, out, we need a change. And I think that's what happened.
Same as the tip-in goals in Edmonton at the second night of the season. It was Vancouver.
Right, it wasn't Campbell. Yeah. You're right. It wasn't like you can blame them. It was the fact that
there was 2 tip-ins and they just can't go in, and that's just the end of the story.
You just need a save. You're right. At some point, you need a save. I'm not sitting here defending the goalie. What I'm saying is that they're just it's it's all of a sudden, it's lazy narrative to just go, that's the goalie and that's it. When you actually have to look at everything in front, plus the goaltender. You need the big save at the right time. Samsonov didn't prove that the other night. 3 goals out of 4 go in. You change the goaltender, you change the momentum, they come back and win. So it was the right move to pull him the other night. It was the right move.
And Keefe said after the game that Woll was starting tomorrow anyway. So it doesn't matter, but the door is open just based on the context of Samsonov and how they even approached his contract in the offseason. Like, they took him to arbitration. They did not. They could have signed him to a 3-year deal, 5-year deal, 7-year deal, 8-year deal. They chose not to. He had a good year last year, specifically at home. His stats were absolutely outstanding. But he has been a hot and cold goalie throughout his career. He's a young guy. He's still proving himself. In the playoffs, his stats were bloated. He made more stops than the other guy, though, right? He is the goalie on record when they finally won a playoff series. He played better than Vasilevsky. But his numbers were not outrageously good. And then when he got to Florida, he got injured, and Joseph Woll stepped in and played really well. I still think it's likely Samsonov is 1A, Woll is 1B, but the door was always going to crack open at some point. I think what might be a bit surprising is that it's open this early in the season. And Woll deserves his flowers. Like, he played really well the other night. Those stops he made on Kucherov to end the third period were unbelievable stops. Close, to keep it a tie game, allow them to get to overtime.
Got them 2 points.
And Hayes,
that's exactly it.
Let's not act like in this market, if you're a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, that this is some luxury that's happening again. A drafted goalie that somehow turns out and is young and really good. This hasn't happened in 50 years.
30 years since Potvin. Like, you could argue Josh Reimer, but Reimer came up when they were terrible. James. And Reimer, what did I say?
Josh.
Oh, James Reimer. James Reimer was the guy. Did I say James? He came up. They weren't very good. He went on to have a very good career, right? A really good, long, prolonged career.
Won last night.
Yes, exactly. Still kicking around the league. I mean, that's a testament to him, and he's been in the league for quite some time.
Yeah.
But it's
a nice
You're
thing.
talking Felix Potvin.
Yeah, so it's a nice thing.
It's a great story.
That a goalie was drafted. He got drafted in I believe, the same draft as Matthews in Buffalo with our buddy with the mustache on the floor, wheeling him around up to the OverDrive booth.
Yep.
So it's nice that they drafted a guy, and maybe he's actually good. Maybe he turns out to be a good goalie. Why it hasn't happened, I have no idea. I have no idea why they haven't drafted goalies.
It's almost shocking that it's been that long where they continued to miss. And listen, they did draft a guy that turned out to be great, but they traded him, and we know the story.
What? They drafted another kid from out west that he just
Ian
retired.
Scott.
Ian Scott, because he had knee problems and hip problems. He couldn't even move.
But he didn't make it.
The thing is he had knee problems at 14 years old when he was working at hockey schools in Calgary. And then he goes at PA at Prince Albert, was outstanding there, and they draft him high. His projection was very high, but his body didn't hold up. It's unfortunate because the kid was forced to retire at 22, 23. But ultimately, they got to research that to make sure his body was fine, but it wasn't. Unfortunately, they lost out on that one, but the kid projected to be really good. But you're right. Here's a good story, and it's an opportunity. And let's breathe on this other, including myself. Let's breathe on it here, too. At the starting of the year, it wasn't like Samsonov is not one of the 8.
No, he's not. He's not guaranteed anything.
He's not a 65-game starter. At most, he's a 50 to 55 game. He's a tandem goaltender. Guess what? He's in a tandem, and now he's going to fight for the net, which he should have been from day one because the net is wide open. Joseph Woll, it's your turn up. Go ahead and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, no, it's a big opportunity for him. I think if he wins tomorrow, you just keep rolling it over. And I think it might be the best thing for Ilya Samsonov as well, to poke at him a little bit. Last year, he came in hungry. It was a one-year deal on the cheap.
Competition.
Murray was the man. Murray started opening night. The expectation was, there's Murray. He's a veteran. He's got 2 cups. You got to go chase it. Now the roles are reversed. Not everyone's comfortable in that position. And so I do think you're going to see some tough love here from Sheldon Keefe that you don't generally see coaches necessarily say or do when it comes to a number one goaltender. They're usually very, very delicate with that.